Hello, welcome to Tea with the President, a special Sunday evening segment where I get to sit down with President Naokimi Ushiroda and talk about last week, sip some tea, maybe spill some tea. Yeah. Hi, President Naokimi. How's it going?
Hey, Yoshie. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I don't actually have any tea on me today, but
Oh,
I
okay.
guess we'll survive.
Well, I'll have to drink for the both of us then.
Yeah. Happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.
Did you get any trick-or-treaters?
Sadly, no. We bought candy, but we didn't get even one today. Actually, I don't remember getting no doorbells. Interesting.
Yeah. I went trick-or-treating with my nephew in like Conshohocken, which is, a suburb of Philadelphia. And I guess their whole city kind of decided to do outdoor trick-or-treating. So there was no doorbells. Anybody who had candy or like wanted to participate set up like either like a table outside or something, so you could like walk up to them and they'd hand you something, or even the long distance candy shooters. We saw a couple of those today too.
Wow. Social distanced Halloween trick-or-treating.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't think I've actually been trick-or-treating since I was young enough to go myself.
Good thing you found a good excuse to go.
Yeah.
It was for your nephew, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, I came out of there with maybe 3 pieces of candy myself, So yes, it was for my nephew, although he didn't really understand what was happening, I think. He just wanted to go to the park. And every time we like turned down a different street, which was not towards the park.
I see. It's like, why aren't we going to the park?
Yeah. But it was fun.
Well, I have a lot of leftover trick-or-treating candy, so I didn't have to go around.
That's good. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, if you guys are here for the first time, welcome. This is a casual conversation between President Naokimi and myself. So if you have a question, feel free to put them in the comments. And we can get started. What is something that you are grateful for about this past week?
Yes, this week. So some things that were kind of rare happened this week. So first thing was my wife, she made breakfast for me on last Sunday. I think I didn't mention it on Tea with the President, but I got up late, and so I had to just kind of jump in to I took a nap after morning devotion, and then usually I spend a good couple hours before the sermon starts to do some final prep, and I didn't have a chance to make breakfast or eat breakfast. So anyway, my wife made breakfast and brought it to me while I was preparing for the sermon. So that was a rare occurrence. I really appreciated that.
Wow.
Usually we kind of make, and prepare breakfast together, or I would grab something and bring it in and we do something. So I didn't have time to work on it together that time, but she brought it to me. So that was a highlight this week. And also my daughter on Wednesday, she made dinner for us. So I mean, it was spaghetti, but
wow.
She's 13, so it was nice that I don't remember what the reasoning was, but I think both of us were working, me and my wife, and it was getting late, and I think my wife asked if she could make it, and so she did, and really grateful for her doing that for us.
Wow.
And on top of that, this week, just yesterday, was the first movie night with the whole family in over a year.
Wow.
Yes. So that
Like
was
an
a highlight.
at-home movie night?
At-home movie night, yeah.
Mm.
I used to do it a lot more when I wasn't the president. But it was usually because, Saturday is like family day, but usually since I'm giving the sermon, Saturday
Right.
night is when I'm like doing my final, like not my final prep, but I'm preparing for the sermon. So Saturday nights usually aren't good. And Sunday nights we have tea with the president and other meetings,
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, but yesterday I did recorded my sermon because I needed to be at church on Sunday for the induction of Milhan as the new pastor there. So in Manhattan. So actually I had like a Saturday evening kind of open. So anyway, it was a rare occurrence. So I was really grateful for that opportunity.
Wow. What movie did you guys see?
We watched Tenet.
Tenet.
Yeah, it's the same director as like Inception and this kind of like movies that really make you think. It's like so confusing.
Huh.
I didn't quite understand it. But anyway, it was it's kind of an action but thriller, but has this kind of like a new concept that's pretty challenging to fully understand. So
Interesting. I've never heard of it until today.
Anyway, I remember on one of my flights or somewhere I saw like previews or something like that, and then I was like, maybe we'll watch that sometime. And that was before I became president. And then but we got that done. Check.
Very nice.
I was happy.
Wow. Okay. So of your kind of gratitude and highlights for this week, your wife made you breakfast, your daughter made you dinner. Definitely family time, and also like, as we know, food is the way to your heart. So you felt a lot of love this week, I guess.
Yes. Especially because it doesn't happen so often.
Yeah.
I think that was what made it special, because each of those occurrences don't happen very often. So yeah.
I am trying to remember if I was comfortable in the kitchen when I was 13. I don't think I was. I think I really learned how to cook on STF.
I think that's normal, but I think I taught anyway. I showed her how to do it a few weeks back, and then she was able to do it on her own. So that was good.
Yeah. When I was in middle school, I take it back. When I was in middle school, I took a home ec class for like one trimester. And we learned how to cook macaroni and cheese from scratch.
Okay.
Maybe quesadillas.
Got it.
And I learned that garlic salt makes everything better.
Tastes better. That's right.
And then, like during that same class, I also learned the basics of sewing. Yeah. So a really helpful course, I think, in my life.
Yeah, I don't remember taking sewing growing up. It wasn't one of my class options.
Yeah, anyway, I do like embroidery art now. This is my current project. Show and tell.
Wow, look at that.
Embroidery.
It's as if you were just waiting for this opportunity to share.
Believe it or not, I wasn't. But
speaking of embroidery.
Yes. Anyway, but there are things that I learned in that sewing class that have kind of carried through to that.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, so breakfast, dinner, and a movie night for the first time in a whole year. Wow, sounds like a really, great week.
Yeah, it was nice.
Any other highlights or?
I think we're good with highlights. Yeah.
Okay. What was challenging this week?
Challenge. Let's see. Oh yeah. So a high stress point this week was it had to do with. Oh yeah. So I'm applying for Medicaid for my dad.
Right.
And they were working with a lawyer, and she wanted us to get something done by the end of the month. And then so we were really scrambling this week, Wednesday and Thursday, to get set up what's called a funeral trust. What that is that in order to qualify for Medicaid, you have to show that your bank account is less than $2,000. Like that's kind of one of the main requirements. And you have to have like a monthly income of less than 2,000, something like that. So there was a bit of savings, but we needed to spend down or pay down the account. And one of the qualifying things was a funeral trust, where if you put in the money to a funeral trust to pay for funeral expenses, it has to be irrevocable, means you can't change it. Then it qualifies as an expense that counts towards paying down your account. So anyway, it was a bit of a scramble. I was in the middle of meetings on Wednesday morning and had to ask my wife to take care of a few things last minute. And so, but we got it done. We got everything ready. So now we're just waiting for the application to be submitted by the lawyer and then getting an approval, and that should help a lot. So anyway, so that was a bit of a hustle this week. I'm glad we got most of it done. It's not complete yet because we're still waiting on the results, but I think that was the biggest kind of challenge this week.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a big thing.
Yeah. It's just that in medical, like nursing homes and like care facilities, they're quite expensive. We're talking like $900 a day expensive. That's the kind of
expense. Oh my God.
So, without like support from the institutions, then it's really impossible for anyone besides like the uber wealthy to afford these places. So anyway, that's what Medicare is for. That's what Medicaid is for. And yeah, I'm glad that we're able to get that ready.
Yeah. Great that you were able to do that. Sounds rough. Okay, so then what about this last week was, I don't know, a key development? I need to like start writing down like different ways to say the same sentence so I can like alternate.
So you can rotate, It's like, what's another way of saying, like,
I mean,
what did you do this week?
Development sounds like you and I know what we're talking about. Probably, you in the audience also know what we're talking about, but it doesn't sound. It's not something that you can easily put into a sentence without saying what was a key development that happened this week.
Yes, I'll leave that up to you, Yoshie, as the interviewer.
Okay. Homework.
But some significant things that happened this week, guys.
There we go.
We had a special morning devotion edition where I emceed because it was the 1-year anniversary, and we heard testimonies of how morning devotion had impacted their lives. So it was really nice. It was special. Had to get up extra early that day because we drove into Manhattan.
Oh boy.
emceed so that we can right afterwards we can have breakfast with Dr. Young. That was me, Milhan, and Joshua. So So that was nice. Or that was like something, a significant thing that happened this week. Also, this week Milhan was appointed. We just did an induction for him as the New York Manhattan Family Church pastor, and then the New York District pastor, which is a big role. And so in order to help him focus on the pastor work, I also reduced a lot of his previous role, which was in the realm of leadership development. So he's still the YSP president, but the leadership development piece I kind of inherited back. So we had our first meeting last Tuesday. So what I used to do before as the IAM director is now back on my left.
Oh boy.
So we had the first meeting this past week. I'm going to continue that, but so that's a significant development this week, is taking that on. I don't know. I feel excited. This is an area that I'm interested in.
Yeah. You're kind of passionate about it to begin with.
Yeah. So I was happy about that. And they were also genuinely excited too. So I thought that interaction is going to be good. Also, I might have mentioned this last week, but now that we have like all second gen leadership or next gen leadership, it's a different dynamic with the team. So there's me, there's Russ Fred as the Secretary General, and then there's the 3 district pastors who are Mika and Placentia and now Milhan. So we had a first retreat, like immediately this past Thursday. We had a retreat to kind of take a deep dive, and I kind of started walking them through a goal setting system that I developed, the WISER process, to really try to empower them and have them function at the most effective level. So that was great. We had lunch together. We discussed, got to know each other, getting clear on who we are, all that kind of good stuff. And next week, we're going to do the second half of that. I mean, this week, we're doing the second half of that. So that's also the thing that I'm looking forward to this week, is to do that, work on that process with them. So yeah, that happened. We also had, I already mentioned the induction this past Sunday. I had to record the sermon,
right,
so that I could be there in person to give. Actually, Dr. Young was supposed to speak and give the keynote, but he was feeling a little ill this morning, so he asked me to do it instead. So I was there in Manhattan reading Dr. Young's speech at the same time National Family Service was going on. So it was like, yes, busy week, but very productive week. So, and I would say the last thing was just right before the tea with the president, we completed the District 14 South virtual meetup for next generation leadership. This is my second kind of virtual tour, and the last one of all the districts happened right before this one. So I completed my second virtual national tour.
Wow.
So that was another key development this week. So
wow, busy.
Yeah, it was a busy week.
Busy with good things.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel like there are a lot of significant outcomes this week. So excited about that.
Wow. Yeah. I know that you talked about it a little bit, but how was the induction ceremony?
Yeah, a little bit on the long side for my preference, about 2 hours and a little bit. But it was a lot of people we were recognizing. It was the outgoing pastors, Reverend Edner, Reverend Juanita.
Yeah.
They were also kind of elevated to the senior pastors. Association.
Great.
But then there was Milhan, and then there was also Joshua and Takayo. They were also appointed as assistant pastors for Manhattan. So it's quite a lineup now in Manhattan.
Power team.
Yeah, power team. So pretty excited for what's to come. And we had a few good songs, cake cutting, lunch, that kind of stuff. Of course, Reverend Green had to sing a song.
Of course.
But it was good. He sang New York, New York.
Wow.
And it was kind of the closing song, so it worked out well. And then Justin gave the Okmanses, and Mika came down from Bridgeport and she gave the opening prayer. So yeah, it was really nice. It was all round tables, and it was quite a nice program. Sayaka Milhan's family was there and then we also did the whole prayer over them to empower them.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that's, I think, one of my favorite traditions.
Yeah. So me and Reverend Enner prayed over Milhan and his family, and also Joshua and Takayo couple. And then we also had all the New York City pastors behind us as well. So it was the whole congregation also kind of laying their hands. So really nice.
That's great. Well, excited to hear what developments come from Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I expect great things coming out of Manhattan.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. In the comments really quickly, Mary Hida says, just want to let you know that I've never commented before, but I watch Tea with the President, and it's very informative and intimate, and it's wonderful to have known you since you were a toddler. So much
Mary.
appreciation and love.
It's my nanny, Mary.
That's so nice.
No, I think when I was in Jacob House, she was one of the caretakers there. So there are a few of those that remember me when I was in diapers.
Wow. Well, let's see who else. Ande says, watching you from Montreal. Hello.
Hello.
And then Marion Miller says her husband was Manhattan and New York pastor in 1989 through 95.
Wow.
That's a long stretch.
6 years in New York.
And then from YouTube, Richard says Russ Fred's mom sang with Robert Hall. Beautiful.
Yeah, Russ Fred's mom sang quite well.
Wow.
I commented, I was messaging him, said, oh, this is where you get your vocal chops. And
he does have some chops.
Yeah. And he
was enthusiasm.
His response was, no, she got it from me.
Of course.
And I told him that's not quite how it works.
That's not how genetics works.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Sunday service a little bit.
Sure.
We had a Halloween themed / spirit world themed sermon. Okay, let's go ahead. Should I go through the comments?
Sure. You'll see a pattern though.
We'll see a pattern. Okay, so these, for those of you who are watching for the first time, President Naokimi reads all of the comments after his sermon on Sunday, and then he'll highlight his favorites. We get to talk about it. Okay, so Jennifer Pierce said, the idea that we are responsible for things that we didn't do or were not present for takes a big heart to fully digest. I think it drives home how much we are connected as people and as God's children.
Yeah, I think she was commenting when I was sharing my story about, being like a Chinese girl throwing a dodgeball at my head for no reason, just like not knowing why, but later on reflecting and realizing, maybe there's some ancestral sin or just, hatred and animosity from generations back that is being expressed. And unless someone is willing to break the cycle of pain, resentment, and kind of revenge, that cycle will never be broken. So someone has to be willing to take a hit and not hit back, and instead to receive it, with gratitude. So yeah, and I quoted Jesus there about, turning the other cheek. It's not about being weak or timid, but it's really about, breaking that cycle.
Yes. Okay, Jennifer Pierce says, I love that President Naokimi's sermon essentially comes down to physical life matters, even though we're talking about the spirit world today.
Yeah, so she got another really key point I was trying to deliver, which was that the point about learning these spiritual principles or how spirit world works is so that we know how best to function while we're on earth. Like how important it is that we grow our hearts and we take care of our resentments while we're on earth, because if we don't, we're going to have to come back and work through someone else to resolve those issues. So it's a lot easier when you have a physical body to kind of work out those issues. So that's, anyway, that was a key point that came out in the sermon that she caught.
Yes. I think I responded to it to say something like, practical always. Like, you are always practical.
I try.
Okay, Jennifer also commented, if you want to go to heaven, you need to experience heaven on earth.
That was a secret question. And I think it was also a nice quote. So that's why I highlighted that. The secret to going heaven is to experience heaven on earth. And the point is, I think this is a really revolutionary perspective, because historically, heaven and hell was based on, of course, it was like, how you lived your life, good and bad, but also based on your belief, right? If you believed in Jesus, then you'll be saved and you go to heaven. And if you don't, then you're going to hell. And anyway, there's many different versions of that. But the principal perspective is so simple and revolutionary. Heaven is simply your state of spirit or heart that you enter when you pass away from this earth. So the more you're able to cultivate and develop your heart to be able to love others, that's the state in heart and the freedom that you experience in the next realm. So what hell is that if your heart is so limited and closed and self-centered and either resentful or angry or depressed, then that's how you end up being in the spirit world, where you don't want to be engaged with others, you don't want to be close to God, you're kind of closed and trapped and in pain. And the sad thing is that continues through eternity unless you get support from people who are on earth. So to me, that concept of the spirit world is so simple and clear that I feel it's such a powerful perspective to live life with.
Yeah, that's great. Sam Harley said, Jennifer with white background, white blouse, and white earphones. It's the spirit world look.
Yeah, she was hosting the District 14 South meetup as well, so I let her know that That was one of my highlighted comments.
Yeah. And then Randy Francis said, "We are spiritual beings going through this earthly life to protect our love through giving and living for the sake of others."
Yeah, it's a perspective that our bodies are temporary vehicles through which to grow our souls. So it's a interesting perspective in which to look at your own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Marie Gopper said, "Jennifer, you are such a lovely MC. Heart, 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 heart. Thank you."
Yes, I agreed. So I just wanted to show some love. Jennifer, great job today. I wasn't there in person because I had other duties, but I am grateful that you're able to serve as MC today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She also, this was technically Sub-Region 1's week. So she, and Resfred was with you.
That's right. That's right.
So she came to the rescue on many fronts. So well done, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
I heard you were approached as well, Yoshie. But
I had to go trick-or-treating with my nephew.
Sorry, I have other obligations.
Yeah, but thank you again, Jennifer. You did a great job. And the theme of this week is Halloween, and also Jennifer did great.
Yeah. That was the common thread of the comments today.
Okay, so what are you looking forward to in this coming week?
Well, I already mentioned it, but I'm doing a part 2 of the training for Sub-Region 1 district pastors, and it went super well last week, and I'm excited to kind of go through the rest of it. We also set up a time for the next 3 months for me to give one-on-one coaching to each of them. So I'm investing in these guys. These guys are gonna really flourish. That's the goal. That's
great. That's exciting. Well, I think that we are out of time for today. Yeah, but thank you all for joining us, and thank you, President Naokimi, for making some time this evening.
Yes, thanks everyone for showing up, and thank you, Yoshie, as always, for hosting.
My pleasure. Okay, so yes, happy Halloween, everybody. God bless you, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.